On today's episode of the DuckZone503 Podcast, we're going to be talking about the absolute stellar day Dan Lanning and this Oregon coaching staff had on 2024 National Signing Day, guys. Safety Kobe Savage, wide receiver Jeremiah McClellan, and wide receiver Ryan Pellum all came as new commitments for the Ducks. I'm your host, Dominiqk Peterson. This is the DuckZone503 Podcast, where we talk all things Oregon football. Let's get into it, people.
Welcome to the DuckZone503 Podcast, talking all things Oregon football, with your host, Dominiqk Peterson. Let's go.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Dominiqk Peterson. Today is Thursday, December 21st, 2023, guys. Joyful to be with you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. This is probably going to be the last episode I'll do until after Christmas. I'm going to try to spend some time with the family after this. I suggest you guys do that as well. Man, what a day it is. Everybody, what's up on Instagram? We got about 32 people on Instagram live in here. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're going to be putting this episode on Spotify as well, guys. If you're listening right now, hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. If you're on Instagram, please, after you're done watching, go hit the link in my bio and go subscribe to the podcast on Spotify. We're on YouTube, Spotify or YouTube, wherever you prefer to listen or subscribe to. That's where the full episode will be after this is done. I'll give you guys weekly podcasts on all things Oregon football. Recruit interviews are coming. I'm going to be hitting their DMs, seeing who wants to come onto the channel. I don't know if I'll get everybody on, but I'm hoping to get the majority of the guys that signed their NIL and are officially Oregon Ducks, tell their story, get them onto the channel, and then, guys, giving you the latest updates. Most of you already are, but follow us on all the social media platforms at DuckZone503, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're all over the place, so make sure you're following us there to get the latest, quickest updates on all things Oregon football. If you're not already, go Ducks. Rate us on Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, 5 stars. Really helps with the podcast, helps with the algorithm, getting us out there. Appreciate everybody who does. We've been growing like crazy. Let's go, man. All right, guys, topics of the day today. What are we going to talk about on today's podcast? Stay locked in with me here. Number one, things got started early in the morning as former Kansas State safety Kobe Savage committed to the Oregon Ducks. Second, we all know National Signing Day brings a lot of fireworks and news headlines, kids flipping their commitments. We call it flip season around here. 4-star wide receiver and then Ohio State commit Jeremiah McClellan decided to flip his commitment to Oregon. That was a big one. That was one we've seen for the last couple of weeks. We've been talking about it on this podcast, so it didn't come to a surprise on signing day if you've been locked in with us here. And then next, this one came as a new development. This is one that was really under the radar. Came as in the next 3 to 4 hours right after Jeremiah McClellan committed. We started getting news that Ryan Pellum, former USC commit, was looking to possibly flip his commitment to Oregon and the Ducks. You know, the name sounds familiar. Pellum, he's former linebacker coach, connected to Don Pellum, who used to coach here for plenty of years. So Oregon connection there. That's going to be big. We're going to be talking about that. And then fourth, all of Oregon's 2024 commits, all 25 of them have signed their letter of intent. None of them flipped their commitments. None of them. That's absolutely huge if you're Oregon and Dan Lanning to not only flip other guys from other schools, but also to retain all your guys on signing day. We're also going to be going by position, quarterback, running back, wide receivers, offensive linemen, tight ends, defensive linemen, linebackers, corner safeties. We're going to look at all the commits position by position, give you my take on all these guys, give you what kind of role they might have in 2024, stuff like that. So we have a loaded show today, guys, talking about each commit, each flip that happened, how it led up to it, where I see these guys fitting in. So stay locked in here. Okay, guys, so let's start here. Kobe Savage, that was the first commit early in the morning. This one was, I think, around 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m., man. It came real early. I was drinking my water because I don't drink coffee. Trying to stay away from caffeine. Kobe Savage, man, this is a big get. This is a guy with loads of experience. You know, some people are 50-50 on him. A lot of people are like, well, he's a 3-star on 247. Like, guys, don't look at stars. Watch the tape. This guy is a really good cover corner, has great instincts on the field. Standing 5'11", 205 pounds. He has 1 year of eligibility, so this will be a one-and-done guy. But this is a guy with loads of experience as a college athlete. He started at Tyler, okay, a JUCO school. For those who don't know what school that is, Tyler, very small school, JUCO school. Started out there. Savage was ranked as the number 38th JUCO prospect in the nation and the number 5 safety at the JUCO rank before transferring to Kansas State. And in his time with the Wildcats, Savage totaled 115 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 6 interceptions. Savage is also a 2-time second-team All-Big 12 selection. So that's who you're getting with this guy. This guy, over 115 tackles, 1 forced fumble. Like I said, if you watch his anticipation as a cover safety, really covering from sideline to sideline, 6 interceptions in 2 seasons. That's very good as a safety. And then earning all 2-team second. I can't talk today. Second team All Big 12 selection, 2-time. Man, big time player, Kobe Savage, and a guy with an excellent name. I mean, I wish my name was Kobe Savage. What a name. Savage. I see Kobe Savage next year paired up with Tysheem Johnson, who comes back, who played last year. Going to be an excellent pair at the safety position there. And to see this position flourish in 2024 is going to be absolutely awesome. You know, the Ducks are also getting an elite player from the JUCO ranks this year as well. We can't forget Sion Laulu. I'm going to try to say his name the best, Sion Laele. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. But he's coming in as the number 2 overall player and the number 1 JUCO corner this season. So we talk about the corners and the safety, really trying to shore this up because we're losing a lot from last year, right? We got Sion Laulu, the number 1 JUCO corner this year, and a dominating JUCO player in his time at Tyler, and a second-team All-American in the Big 12 at Kansas State. I mean, go watch the film, guys. Definitely great cover corner. I think he's a great plug-and-play player for Evan Williams, who was here. And then prior to that was Bennett Williams, so this is another safety that's going to come in and play. And then you're pairing him up with a guy, Sion Laelu, who stands 6'4", really long corner. They call him the Slim Reaper. It's going to be an excellent, excellent pairing in that secondary, along with Tysheem Johnson coming back. So remember that, guys, right? And here's a fun fact, guys. Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel and Oregon safety Kobe Savage are actually very familiar with each other. They both played each other in 2022 in what would be a 41-34 win for Savage and the Wildcats. Now, both players had very good performances that day, with Savage racking up 11 total tackles on the day and a QB hit. Meanwhile, Gabriel threw for 330 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game. So both players, outstanding performances, and you've seen them go against each other. I suggest you guys watch that game, watch the highlights. It's really cool to see both them come and be Ducks in 2024. And also check this out, guys. According to Zachary Neal of Ducks Wire, back before Oregon safeties coach Chris Hampton came to Eugene, he was a defensive coordinator at Tulane, and that's where Kobe Savage first caught the eye of Hampton, our defensive, our co-defensive coordinator, Chris Hampton. Neal writes, in his final season with the Green Wave, Tulane played against Kansas State in a game where Savage totaled 7 tackles and 1 interception. It will be interesting to talk to Hampton this offseason and see if he's got the idea in his head to potentially wanting to coach Savage at some point down the road. So that was obviously, seeing him early on, and now Hampton comes to Oregon and grabs a guy like Kobe Savage. Excellent, excellent get at the safety position, because we all know Evan Williams, Brian Addison, Damon David at this point is gone as well. So needed safeties, right? Needed the corner position, right? And this is the guy that can come in and come play and has loads of experience in that secondary position. All right, second thing we got to talk about today, Jeremiah McClellan, man, the ex-Ohio State, 4-star wide receiver Jeremiah McClellan flipped his commitment to Oregon. This didn't come to a surprise to us if you've been locked in to the podcast on here. I've been talking about, hey, watch this one. This is one that the Ducks feel good about. There's been multiple reports on this, on message boards, all kinds of stuff. And this is one that I shared with you guys. Hey, this is one that Oregon wants, a wide receiver, because we're losing Troy Franklin this year. Tez Johnson's still a question mark. We don't know if he's coming back. And that puts a real need at the wide receiver position as far as numbers, because Trayshawn Holden, Gary Bryant, I would say, is the next guys. And as good as those guys are, they made a lot of plays this year. There's a reason why they weren't wide receiver one. Okay, not to say that they couldn't maybe form into that one day, but I don't think those are the two guys you want to really be relying on. And Oregon was trying to find a guy in the portal. Unfortunately, the guys that were going after went elsewhere. So Oregon did not land a guy in the portal. I think that's why you've seen Oregon go really hard on signing day to flip these two wide receivers. And they're able to get Jeremiah McClellan and Ryan Pellum. And Ohio State, he committed to Ohio State in August. This is one that lasted a while. This was a fight for Oregon. It did not happen overnight. But man, oh man, especially get a player, a wide receiver at that. Think about that. The factory that Ohio State is putting out wide receivers. I mean, and to grab him from Ohio State is excellent. Absolutely awesome. You can't forget the young guys too in the wide receiver room. Kyler Casper, if he comes back, 6'5", he's different than any other wide receiver in that room. Very tall, very lengthy, could get those jump balls in the red zone. I really like Kyler Casper. And then you also got Jurion Dickey, 5-star, didn't see the field really at all last year, but that was his opportunity to really develop behind Troy Franklin, Tez Johnson, all these great wide receivers that were here this year, and really, stand on the sidelines and wait his turn, and you got to remember, it wasn't because Jurion Dickey wasn't good enough. He came in the summer, so he literally had 2 to 3 months to figure out everything and get on the field as a freshman behind all these guys that we already have. I mean, that was tough. So I think it was a good thing for him to sit there, develop, and learn under probably the best Oregon wide receiver in history and Troy Franklin, right? And this is the thing. This is what's cool. To flip a guy from Ohio State who's now your top conference rival and one of their key players in year one of joining the Big Ten. I mean, way to go, Dan Lanning. That's the way to do it, man. McClellan is the number 100 overall player in 2024 ESPN 300 rankings. He had been committed to the Buckeyes since August 13th, but ultimately decided to choose the Ducks in the end. Distance away from home was a huge deciding factor for him in his decision, which is probably why he formally did commit to Ohio State. He lives in Missouri. That's his home state. So Ohio State's a lot closer as far as distance goes. But in the end, Dan Lanning and the Ducks were able to flip him. McClellan is a little bit of a smaller wide receiver. He's 6 foot, 195 pounds. He's a product of Christian Brothers College High School out there in Missouri. This year, he caught 58 passes and 834 yards in his senior season. He's going to be following an elite top 100 prospect at the receiver position from the 2023 class, who we just talked about, Jurion Dickey, who is number 38 overall in his class. So this is 2 years in a row now where shout out Junior Adams, one of the best recruiters at the wide receiver position, is able to bring 2 ESPN Elite Top 100 recruits in at the wide receiver position 2 years in a row now. This is absolutely great work from Junior Adams. If you guys don't know the wide receiver coach, his background, he actually coached and recruited at Washington prior to coming to Oregon. We all seen what Washington, their wide receivers were this year. Guess who recruited them to Washington? Guess who found them out of high school? Junior Adams did. And now he's building up this Oregon wide receiver room, and he's done it quick, and he's developed as well. You've seen what Troy Franklin has become under Junior Adams since he's been hired here. So it's definitely a great getting Jeremiah McClellan. And let me tell you, 247 Sports is raving over this guy. Alan Trio goes so far as to project McClellan as a future Power 5 starter and compares him to NFL receiver David Bell. Here's a breakdown of McClellan here. He says, quote, has a solidly built, stronger frame, stocky, and is a tough receiver for defensive back to reroute. Has a track background with decent times, including 11.27 100-meter dash. Has excellent ball skills, hand-eye coordination, and ability to make contested catches is one of the standout qualities. Shows burst as a route runner, can accelerate and get on top of defenders. If he can add just a little bit more top end, he can become even more of a downfield threat, but is a very skilled receiver who will enter a high major program physically ready to compete. So it sounds like to me, this guy is a real possession wide receiver. Doesn't sound like he has a lot of top end speed, really can't, maybe beat an elite DB down the field, but a guy that can make strong catches, has strong hands, and can make contested catches. And, with time, he can get faster. He can get that top end speed that maybe Alan Trio was scouting him out at. He's ranked, McClellan was ranked as the 72 player in the country while ranking number 16 at the wide receiver position. He's also rated at the number 4 player in the state of Missouri. McClellan committed to the Buckeyes in August, but took an official visit to Oregon in September, where the Ducks dismantled the then number 19 Colorado Buffaloes 42-6 in an electric environment. That game in particular had a lot of hype, a lot of eyeballs in it. If you remember, that performance, in my mind, definitely had something to do helping Dan Lanning and the Ducks sway McClellan even more, because let me tell you, I was at that Colorado game. Woo! Man, we had the different colors, the green and yellow in the crowd. The fact that Colorado came out and stomped on our field and we came out and put it on them, that had to be a great performance for McClellan to see. In that game, you also had Ducks wideout Troy Franklin go for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns on 8 receptions. Absolutely dominant performance on the Buffaloes. And, you got to see what he got to do. You got to see, if you come here under offensive coordinator Will Stein and this Oregon offense, you're showing recruits in the crowd watching what they can do playing here at Oregon. And that's exactly what McClellan was able to do on his visit during that Colorado game. Another factor here, I think, is Oregon also brought in 2, not just 1, but 2 of the best quarterbacks heading into 2024 through the transfer portal. We all know Bo Nix is gone. Ty Thompson is transferred out of here. All that's left is we got Luke Moga coming in through the 2024 class, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then we got Austin Novostad, who we'll see what he does. And I think he's going to last to the spring ball. And then after spring ball, he's either going to stay, or if he kind of sees where he's at on the depth chart with all these quarterbacks being here, we got 4 of them, he might dip. So we're going to see. He might hit the transfer portal. So we're going to see what happens here. But I do think adding Dylan Gabriel, adding Dante Moore is another factor, especially at the wide receiver position. You're able to pitch to the wide receivers. Look at these guys we have, not only for this year, but for the next couple years ahead. And that's the way you're able to flip some of these skill guys. Greg Biggins of 247 Sports said this on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, about McClellan. Quote, Big McClellan fan, one of the most ready to play now wide receivers in this class. Super technical with some juice after the catch. Huge flip for the Ducks. So as I said, the 247 guys on that site, absolutely going nuts. Man, going nuts for this guy. So this is a big get, talking about he's one of the more ready to play right now on day one. Now, I always say this on this podcast. I'll forever say it. Look, as much as I love recruits, 5 stars coming in, big time wide receivers, and they're talking big about them, I always try to give you guys some inside baseball. These recruiting websites feed off your emotions, okay? And I'm not saying that any of these recruits that that this is a scam or these websites are scamming you and they're trying to hype you up for no reason. No, it's a business and there's money to be made. The whole point is to hype up these recruits, is to get, when they interview these guys, they can pitch you a subscription. So when you're hearing about these recruits and you're getting all excited, and when they finally interview them and they talk about Oregon and you want the inside scoop or whatever they're talking about first, the news first, you got to pay behind that paywall. And there's value to that. There's definitely value because there's inside information on those message boards and in those interviews that you can get. But that's part of the reason, just going back to my point, of why they're trying to hype you up and hype these guys up. Now, not to say these guys aren't good and they don't deserve the hype, because they definitely do. But to start day one on college football, you either got to be playing on a program that's rebuilding, like Arizona State, something like that, or you gotta just be real special, like a Justin Herbert, a Kayvon Thibodeau type, right? A guy that can just come in and dominate, Trevor Lawrence type. And for Jeremiah McClellan's case, I think we have enough talent here that he doesn't have to come in and play day one. But if this is what they're saying about him, that just makes it all more the merrier. Speaking of Christmas time, Merry Christmas, everybody. But man, huge flip for the Ducks, getting Jeremiah McClellan from the Ohio State Buckeyes as we add to this wide receiver room. Ducks weren't able to get a transfer portal guy, so we're getting him through recruiting. Absolutely love it. Let me take a sip of water, and we'll keep it moving here. Got a few comments from you guys in the Instagram live. Let's go check in with you guys here. Edville Ariel 85 says, yeah, people saying Nolan committing to Ole Miss, but I think we would have already since he was just there. Yeah, that's true. There's been multiple crystal balls to Walter Nolan. I'll always say this, and this is also the case for Jordan Seaton, as we should keep an eye on this one too, is Jordan Seaton committed to Colorado, but he did not end up signing any paperwork, and there's been multiple recruits that multiple schools, not just Oregon, and for good reason. He's the number one offensive tackle, Jordan Seaton, that we're talking about now. Number one offensive tackle in the country, did not sign his paperwork. He's going to take more time. And look, if you're not considered the favorite, like Oregon isn't, on Jordan Seaton, on guys like Walter Nolan, the more time these guys take, the more time Dan Lanning and this staff have time to talk to these guys on the phone, talk to their family, get deals, NIL deals, certain things situated. That just benefits Oregon. Because the minute they lock their commitment in, wherever they're thinking, Ole Miss, right, for Walter Nolan, Jordan Seaton case, it sounds like he's committed to Colorado. But we're going to see. And I've also heard on Walter Nolan's case that he might be going to Maryland, and I took a late visit to Maryland right before the dead period. So Walter Nolan's case could be Ole Miss, it could be Maryland, and it could maybe be the Ducks. But I would put my money, if I had to put my money on Ole Miss, I would put it on Ole Miss. Maryland is in the conversation for because he wants to go home. And that's the only reason maybe he wants to go home. But that's going to be one to see. One to see. Nolan would be the cherry on top. 100%. When does Nolan announce his commitment? I don't know. He there's been nothing around Nolan, Jordan Seaton. Another two to watch. We got Jericho Johnson, defensive lineman, 4-star defensive lineman Jericho Johnson will be announcing his commitment today at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. So you guys, if you guys are tuning in, make sure you tune in to his Instagram. I think he's going to be announcing on there around 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. 4-star defensive lineman Jericho Johnson. Very, very strong stance. He's going to commit to the Ducks. Very, very strong chance. I think he's going between Oregon, USC, Utah, and Washington. Very strong chance that we get Jericho Johnson. Moving on into February, 4-star wide receiver Gatlin Bear. Gatlin Bear, very, very fast wide receiver. I mean, this is a track athlete. We'll be announcing between Oregon and Michigan. As of now, it looks like Michigan might be the favorite, especially since Oregon has added 2 wide receivers. But I don't think Oregon is going to want to slow down at the wide receiver position anytime soon. So, one to watch there. Gatlin Bear, 4-star wide receiver in February. Sometime in February, we'll be announcing tonight at 7 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern time. 4-star Jericho Johnson will be announcing. Okay, guys. So, we got the flip from Jeremiah McClellan. That was a big flip of the day to start things out. We got a big commitment out of the transfer portal from Kobe Savage at the safety position. That wasn't it. We also had Ryan Pellum, We're going to talk about that, man. Ryan Pellum is going to be awesome. Comments. I see you guys in the comments on YouTube. I'm going to get to your guys' comments here in a bit. Let's talk about Ryan Pellum. This was the second flip of the day. Hit your back flips with me, people. Later that afternoon, Oregon shocked the college football world by flipping their second receiver on National Signing Day. 2024 four-star wide receiver from Long Beach, California, Ryan Pellum flipped his commitment from the Trojans to the Ducks. Pellum is 5'11", 170 pounds, and is ranked as the number 99th overall player in the 2024 class and number 19th among receivers, according to 247 Sports Composite. He is the second four-star receiver ranked in the top 100 to flip to Oregon, joining Jeremiah McClellan in the 2024 wide receiver room. This isn't the first flip to the Ducks have executed against USC. Pellum is actually the second recruit to flip from the Trojans to Oregon in this year's class. If you guys remember, the Ducks also flipped four-star cornerback Dakota Fields from USC earlier this year. So Dan Lanning making Lincoln Riley his son on the recruiting trail. Let me tell you, it's been a disaster at USC. They have so many transfer guys coming out, guys like Malachi Nelson, who's supposed to. Lincoln Riley literally said he's going to be the future of USC football during practice, and then a day later, Malachi Nelson transfers. That was hilarious. Anyways, moving on here. According to Max Torres of Sports Illustrated, Pellum silently visited the Ducks before signing day, quote, saying, "There was some chatter about a possible last-minute trip to Eugene prior to early signing period, and Pellum's brother, Romeo Pellum, confirmed the newest Duck was able to visit Oregon prior to the flip," end quote. The older Pellum and McClellan head coach told reporter Max Torres this, quote, "Yeah, he went before the dead period. Real quiet. No one knew." So you guys hear that? Right out of the horse's mouth. His head coach at high school. Right before the dead period, Ryan Pellum takes a silent visit to Oregon and gets the job done. Dan Lanning gets the job done. Wrapping things up right before signing day. Love it. Love it. If the name Pellum obviously sounds familiar to you, Don Pellum, long Oregon coach, spent 23 years here, primarily a linebackers coach. He's related to the Pellum family there. As a senior, Pellum caught 66 balls for 991 yards and 11 touchdowns and is one of the more explosive pass catchers in the country. This guy can take it to the house, let me tell you. He's a two-way player who also started at corner, so that's important to note. Let's say, we need some depth at corner one day. He has some experience there in high school, but Oregon taking him in, his main role is going to be at wide receiver, no doubt. According to national recruiting analyst Greg Biggins of 247 Sports, quote, "Pellum is a two-way player who's being recruited primarily as a receiver. He shows the ability to be a game breaker and a true home run hitter from anywhere on the field. He's a natural pass catcher with strong hands and a smooth route runner. He's explosive after the catch as well and should be an early impact guy in the return game. He's a fiery competitor, which you like, and it's also something he needs to rein in at times as his emotion can get the best of him. At his best, he's an impact player with the talent to play immediately at the college level. He has the skill set and toughness to be a big-time corner in college as well, but prefers the offensive side of the ball." So it looks like he could be used defensively if he really wants to. We've seen guys like Charles Nelson, just like 7-8 years ago, be used as a two-way player. That was one of the last guys I can really remember that played both defense and offense. Returned the ball as well. We remember Charles Nelson. This sounds like a Charles Nelson type player to me. 5'11", a little on the smaller end, fierce competitor, got a lot of emotion. I love it. I love a guy with an emotion that fires up the crowd, makes a big play, goes crazy. Absolutely love it. I'm here for it. Ryan Pellum, man, sounds like an explosive player. Getting him from USC. We've seen explosive little tiny guys commit from USC to Oregon before. Anthony Thomas. Ryan Pellum, I'm not saying he's D'Anthony Thomas, but that is an awesome flip. Getting Jeremiah McClellan, Ryan Pellum as two flips in the recruiting class. Then you add Kobe Savage through the transfer portal as commits. And not only that, one of the most important things, and I can't stress this enough, guys, Oregon retained all of their commitments, all 25 of them, all signed. And I think it's like 19 out of those 25 are coming on campus early. And let me just tell you how important that is to get on campus. They're coming in January all the way through the spring, learning the playbook, getting camaraderie with your class, getting camaraderie with the team, with your coaches. Adjusting is just life. Coming from Henry, getting adjusted. And having to do that, as a young freshman, and Jurion Dickey's case, let's use him as an example here, coming in during the summer and trying to fit all that, your classes, life, the playbook, learning your team, all that in just 2 or 3 months right before the season. You didn't even get the spring regime in. I mean, that's very tough, very, very tough. But now, in this class, 2024, you had this also in the last class. A lot of guys did come on early. I think Luke Moga, three-star quarterback, is coming in next week right after Christmas. He'll be on campus. He'll actually be practicing with the team for the Fiesta Bowl. He can't play in the bowl. He can't play, but he can practice with the team. So that's how dedicated these guys are coming in. And that's a great thing to see. You want your guys to come in early so that way they can develop even faster and really can carve out a role possibly by the time fall kicks off, right? So we're going to see. We're going to see. Guys, I want to let you know that this video is brought to you by Mojo Fantasy. What's up, guys? If you're watching this video, I assume you love watching sports, and I also assume you love making money just like everybody else in the world. So I'm here to tell you guys about Mojo Fantasy. It's a crazy new app that turns sportsbook odds and selections into fantasy contests. Guys, I have been killing it at Mojo Fantasy. Here's how it works, guys. There are thousands of NFL and MLB player props. You build a portfolio, and the better your portfolio performs, the more cash you win. Pick as many props as you want and try to beat the crowd. It's a whole new way to play fantasy, guys. The props act like stocks, so you can buy and sell live all game long. It's the only fantasy app, the only one that lets you make moves after the game starts, so you're not stuck with a bad pick. You can cash in on a hot start or just hang on and let them ride. Now, cash contests are based on real sportsbook odds. You can get the live same player prop selection odds and cash outs as Mojo's New Jersey sportsbook. You can trade sports just like stocks, guys. You control the action. You can ride your picks, cash out, or enter new positions instantly. And guys, this is my favorite thing about Mojo Fantasy. There is no house advantage, no trying to go against the casino odds. You beat the crowd by building the biggest portfolio and climbing that leaderboard to win that sweet, sweet, hard-earned cash. And guys, if you know ball and you're going against a bunch of dummies, to be real with you, it's real easy, and that's it. That's all there is to it. You make picks, you make moves, and you make money. Download now on the Apple App Store and use my code DuckZone for a 100% deposit match up to $100 for your first time deposit. Link in the description for more. If you're watching on Instagram, the link is in the description on my profile. As always, guys, go Ducks. Enjoy the podcast. You guys want to do that, just hit the link in the description, link in bio if you're watching on Instagram. Plenty of money to be made on that app. Okay, guys, I got some comments here to get to from the YouTube section. Samuel Thomas is here to say, who is the top 3 players in the 2024 class that are instant impacts on D? Really appreciate this question. This is a great question. So I'm going to go number 1, Aiden Breland, just because Oregon simply does not have a lot of guys up there. They're going to have to rely on some young guys if they don't add more bodies in the defensive line. This is why getting Jericho Johnson is another huge commit to watch tonight at 7 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern time. And he's heavily favored for the Ducks. So I think Aiden Breland, 5-star kid out of Modern Day, is a heavy force that can really possibly make a big role for himself. I think Elijah Rushing, 5-star edge, coming off the edge there. Definitely, I don't know if he has a starting role waiting for him, especially if Jordan Birch is deciding to come back. But he is a force, man. He is definitely a force. And then You also got Aaron Flowers. I would say safety Aaron Flowers because the need at safety is prevalent. Now, we just did add some guys. We got some guys from last year that looked really good. But the way Aaron Flowers rose up the rank this year, 4-star safety out of Texas, man, that kid has really played well. And he plays in Texas where some of the best athletes, some of the best wide receivers come from. And the way he rose up the ranks this year, I'm really excited to see what he can do. This is a player who the guys at Rivals, if you read about them, they think he can start anywhere in the country right away. That's how good they think Aaron Flowers is. So I'm surprised he's not a 5-star. He's borderline a 5-star. So I think I got Aiden Breland, Elijah Rushing, and Aaron Flowers. That would be my 3 guys. Appreciate that question, man. Really, really do. Samuel Thomas, thank you for that. Money Blitz in the house. Go Ducks. Go Ducks, baby. Okay. Let's go around this 2024 class. Let's see how much time we got. We got about 20, 25 minutes about. Let's do it. Let's start with the quarterbacks. So Luke Moga, 3-star quarterback. He's the 35th best quarterback in this class, 11th in Arizona. He's coming out of Sunny Slope. Now, look, this is the thing about Luke Moga. He's a 3-star, 35th in his class. Not sexy. I get it. Stands 6'1.5", 195 pounds. Here's the thing, though. You go put it on his tape. This dude reminds me of Mariota. This dude can sling it. This guy has wheels, man. This dude is fast. This guy is a dual threat quarterback coming in. He's going to have a lot ahead of him. It's going to be tough for him. He's got Austin Novastad still here. And like I said, we're going to see what he does after the spring. Maybe he's not going to like his role. Maybe he'll see the writing on the wall, seeing the competition. They got Dante Moore, Dylan Gabriel coming in. Now, Dylan Gabriel just has 1 year, so he knows he's going to be gone. But Dante Moore, going to have to battle that. Can't forget, we got a 2025 commit at the quarterback position. We got Akili Smith Jr., and we all know he ain't decommitting anytime soon unless some crazy stuff happens. But his father is a legend here. So I don't think he's decommitting anytime soon. I think he's pretty committed to Oregon. And the next few years, guys, the quarterback position is loaded. And it's going to be fun, man. Let the best man win. As soon as Dylan Gabriel committed, as soon as Dante Moore committed, Luke Moga put out a tweet saying tough as nails. So I'm all in on Luke Moga, 3-star quarterback coming into Oregon. We also have, obviously 4-star transfer, former 5-star plus prospect, one of the best quarterbacks coming in. Has an NIL value of $1.1 million. Not sure if Oregon gave him that. We don't know the numbers. Nobody does. It's obviously personal information between Dante Moore and Oregon, but he was offered an NIL deal to come to Oregon for sure. He's one of the more sought-after quarterbacks. Could have probably went somewhere and started if he really wanted to. He decides to come to Oregon, gonna learn and develop under Oklahoma quarterback who came in, 4-star, former 3-star quarterback in high school, actually. Dylan Gabriel comes in. So 2 transfer quarterbacks. Dante Moore is formally committed to Oregon. We know the story there. Comes back. He's going to develop under Dylan Gabriel, who has a bunch of experience. Dylan Gabriel played 3 years at UCF, 2 at Oklahoma. Out of 4 out of 5 years, he's thrown for over 3,000 passing yards. Really consistent player. Doesn't really turn the ball over a lot. It's going to be a great one-and-done year entering the Big Ten, having one of the best quarterbacks in the country, really, and one of the better experienced ones. And there's another note on Dylan Gabriel is he's from Hawaii. Oregon opens their season on August 24th at Hawaii. So he's going to get to go home, play in front of his family and friends. It's going to be awesome for him. And I'm sure that was another pitch for him to come to Oregon. One of the pitches anyways. Let's move it on here to the running back position. We got Dejon Riggs. We only took in 1 running back. As we know, running backs get fully loaded this year. We took in a transfer running back as well, and Jay Harris. But Dejon Riggs, the guy that we're talking about here, is a 3-star running back. Again, not a sexy position. 56th best running back in the country. 3rd in his state, though. So really one of the best players in his state. Top 3 in Washington, D.C., coming out of St. John's High School out there. I actually interviewed him about a year and a half ago on my channel when I was working for Scoop Duck. And it was great to meet this kid, real soft-spoken kid. And look, this is the thing. It's not sexy. It's a 3-star kid, but look who recruited him. Carlos Lachlan. Did you guys know Bucky Irving's name before Bucky Irving became Bucky Irving here at Oregon? Did you know Noah Whittington when he came from Western Kentucky, how good he was? Not at all. At that time, actually, we were all thinking Byron Cardwell would have been the starter. And man, oh man, how things change. And thanks to Carlos Lachlan being a really good scouter and finding some damn good running backs, I have 110,000%, million, bazillion, trillion % trust that Carlos Lachlan is going to find really, really good running backs. I have no doubt about that. Dejon Riggs, coming from the East Coast, looks to be just that. I'm excited to see what he can do at Oregon. This, again, it's another position group that's really loaded. We're talking Noah Whittington's coming back. Jordan James looks to be a really special player. Jay Harris just came in, big bruising back. I don't know if Dejon Riggs really has a role this year, but he's going to be able to develop. You can't forget Jaden Lamar as well, 4-star running back from last year coming out of Washington. So, very crowded room. I think this is a developmental player. Let's move on to the wide receivers. We already talked about a couple of them now. That two that we flipped. We also took in Jeremiah McClellan, Ryan Pellum. We already talked about those guys. We also bring in Dylan Gresham, another 4-star wide receiver. Dylan Gresham is the 25th best wide receiver in the 2024 class, 12th best in his state. 27th best wide receiver. I was looking at Ryan Pellum's 27th best wide receiver in 2024, 14th best in his state, 159th nationally. So, guys, we brought in the 52nd best nationally player, 129th best national player, 159th best national player. All those three are wide receivers. 13th best wide receiver in the class, 25th best wide receiver in the class, and 27th best wide receiver in the class. Those three trio gonna be absolutely amazing, man. Can't wait to see what we get from Dylan Gresham. He stands 6 foot, 175 pounds. All three of those wide receivers kind of have the same frame, 6 foot, 170, 190 pounds. Jeremiah McClellan's the one that's a little more heavier. Now look, Dylan Gresham, man, he was a lower 4-star, and then all of a sudden, man, just absolutely went insane. We're talking a guy who had a 2,000 wide receiver receiving season. I mean, 2,000 yards in one season. Absolutely crazy out there in San Jacinto, California, man. Absolutely crazy. And then we also signed a 3-star wide receiver in Jack Wrestler. Jack Wrestler is the 179th best wide receiver in his class, 90th in the state of California. But here's the thing, man. He's coming out of Modern Day, one of the most prestigious, best developed high schools in the country. So you're getting a player that knows about winning, knows about a winning culture. And not only that, I think Jack Wrestler's also used to get Aiden Breland here. I think Aiden Breland and Jack Wrestler's are a really good friend. I think they're on the same team. And I think Aiden Breland wanted Jack Wrestler on this team, and we get him on the team. He could be definitely a good plug-and-play guy. We never know what he can develop into. We're going to see. All right, let's see here. Let's go to tight end. Scroll till I see the TE. We took in Roger Salapega out of Orem, Utah, out of Orem High School. He's standing 6'4", 210 pounds, number 27th best tight end in the class. He's a 3-star tight end, actually, 4th best player in Utah. Roger Salapega, again, with Terrence Ferguson leaving, Patrick Herbert is getting up there in age. We're going to have to add to this tight end room, no doubt. And adding Roger Salapega is definitely a great add. We're not done there at the tight end position. AJ Pugliano, this is a homegrown kid out of Medford, Oregon, played for North Medford High School. 29th best tight end in the country, 3rd best in the state of Oregon. Always good to retain your homegrown kids. And he's actually one of 3 kids out of the state of Oregon in this 2024 class that came on to the Ducks here. Okay, let's go here to offensive linemen. Now, offensive linemen, this was not a position where we really, really hit as much as we did last year. We brought in a transfer in Matthew Bedford. who was an Indiana Hoosier. He's going to be a 6-year starter this year. So lots and lots and lots of experience. I mean, this is a guy in Matthew Bedford who started for the Hoosiers back in 2019. That's how much experience he's going to have. And Stephen Jones was a guy with loads of experience at Oregon, longtime starter. And he leaves. He's out of eligibility. Played great here. And now we get another guy with loads of eligibility. And he's also, it's another note, played in the Big Ten against those Big Ten defensive linemen, those big guys. So he's going to be able to get plug and play here. Get those other guys adjusted to the Big Ten around him. Interior offensive lineman, another homegrown kid. This is number 2 or 3 kids from the state of Oregon, out of Clackamas, Oregon, Clackamas High School. Devin Brooks, interior offensive lineman, standing 6'4", 300 pounds. He's the 32nd best interior offensive lineman, second best in the state of Oregon. It's always good for Dan Lanning and the Ducks to retain their in-state prospects that are elite, such as 4-star kids, because be real with you guys, Oregon does not produce a lot of 4-star talent. So to get those kids and to keep them here at Oregon, absolutely huge to do that. Okay, let's flip to the defensive side of the football. Let's look at the defensive backs here. This is one that I'm excited about because we needed to add. This is where I feel like Dan Lanning is going to build for the future and really create some good secondaries, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I cannot remember the last time Oregon had a great secondary. It feels like every year the Ducks kind of struggle to defend the pass. So I'm waiting for Dan Lanning and Tosh Lupoy and his philosophy to really break through. And I think one thing that really creates a great secondary is a great front seven that can get to the quarterback. Let's talk about Dakota Fields, 4-star defensive back, number 11 defensive back in the country, 8 in the state of California. He played for Junipero Serra High School out there in Gardena, California. This kid is definitely an elite defensive back. We flipped him from USC earlier in the year. He's probably the best defensive back in the class. This kid is going to be electric. I don't know if he's going to be able to get on the field as a starter this year, but I think he's definitely going to be in the rotation as a young guy. We can't forget Sion Lealo, who is coming from the JUCO level. He's the number 2 best JUCO player in the country coming out of the transfer portal, and the best defensive back coming from the JUCO level. So coming from the JUCO level, it's obviously a step up in competition. Guys are faster, stronger, just overall better athletes at the D1 level. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles that. But this guy is 6'3.5", 180 pounds. Looks like a division athlete. You watch his tape, really long, lengthy guy that can disrupt some things at the corner position. So it's going to be awesome to add him as a defensive back. I definitely think Sion Leale I got to learn how to say his name. I'm very sorry, guys. Sion Leale can fit into the Ducks and see how much playtime he gets. This is a possible starter that could be next to Jaleel Florence. We all know the Ducks are looking for a new defensive back, a new DB1 after Kyrie Jackson is going to the draft. So it's going to be interesting to watch Sion Leale step in and possibly be that DB1 next to Jaleel Florence, or maybe even Jaleel Florence develops into that defensive back 1 role and is a star. We're all seeing Jaleel Florence, take a big step up from year 1 to 2. Now from year 2 to 3, what does he become? What does he develop into? That's going to be interesting to watch. And then another elite defensive back, man. Shout out Demetrius Martin, man. He's getting some guys. Ife Obadegwu, 4-star defensive back at a St. Francis Academy. Really, really elite high school, playing really good competition out there at Baltimore, Maryland. So he's battle tested for sure. Definitely has got the tape on the field. It's not like you're out there playing cupcakes at the high school level. This guy is playing some real competition, real other Division I athletes, if you want to put it straight up. And this is one I was kind of worried about, Ife Obadegwu, because his teammate, quarterback Michael Van Buren, decommitted a few weeks ahead when the news that Dylan Gabriel was coming to Oregon, and the writing was on the wall that there's just too many scholarships at the quarterback position. So I have a feeling that Oregon probably rescinded his scholarship, and them being teammates, and they kind of committed around the same time. I was like, we gotta kind of watch this Ife Obadegwu commitment, but not at all. There wasn't even a report about him possibly flipping anywhere. Ifeoma Odegu is a 4-star defensive back, 134th best player in the country, 19th best defensive back in 2024 class, and second best player in Maryland. Definitely a nice addition there. Let's go to the defensive line here. Aiden Breland, On3 has him as 4-star. Some sites has him as a 5-star. I've seen him mostly as a 5-star, so I'm going to call him a 5-star kid. Number 7th in his position, according to On3 Sports. 3rd in his state of California. 6'4.5". Again, when I was asked the question, who's your top 3 guys for this class, Aiden Breland's got to be in that top 3 because this is just an absolute disruptor. Played in California. We just talked about, when you look at high school kids, you want to look at the competition they play. Are they playing other Division I type kids, or are they just playing kids that they can dominate? Well, playing in modern day, they're playing at modern day high school. They play some of the toughest competition probably in the country. So he's really battle tested, really proven, and he dominated competition. And he's a 5-star for a reason. Definitely a big pickup here at the defensive line position, where Oregon is losing Taki Tiamani, Casey Rogers, Popo Amave, guys who have played here a long, long time. Xadavion Sims is a 4-star defensive lineman out of Durant, Oklahoma, from Durant High School, 321st national player in the country, 30th in his position, second best in the state of Oklahoma. Ducks traveling out there near the Southeastern Conference almost. They're in the Southeast Conference now, Oklahoma, right? Getting guys from Oklahoma. This is a guy that we had to battle the Sooners for, and for the Ducks to come up big and out-recruit the Sooners and Dan Lannon to do that. Big get there to keep adding to the defensive line. As we all know, we're going to need some depth. Ducks aren't done at the defensive line spot there, as we add 3-star Tion Gray from St. Louis, Missouri, out of Hazelwood Central High School. 46th best defensive line in the class, 10th best in the state of Missouri. Just, again, a nice addition there at the defensive line position. Let's move on to the defensive end position, where Elijah Rushing, talking about guys that I think can make instant impacts, can possibly carve out a nice role for themselves on this team. I think Elijah Rushing is one of those guys. 5-star kid, 6th best defensive end, according to On3. On3 has him as a 4-star. I don't know why they do this. 247 Sports has him as a 5-star. Number 1 best player in the state of Arizona, no doubt. 38th best player nationally. 1-time committed to Arizona. If you guys kind of remember that, Oregon had to flip him as well earlier this year to Oregon. And this is absolutely a great get. This guy's definitely a disruptor, definitely a force on the edge position. And if Jordan Birch doesn't come back, I think Jordan Birch, it's essential if Dan Lanning, wants to have an elite defense this year. I think getting guys with experience such as Jordan Birch, and I think there's a great chance Jordan Birch will come back. But if he doesn't, getting Elijah Rushing ready to play is an absolute need. But if not, you're able to have a great 1-2 punch of Jordan Birch and Elijah Rushing filling in behind him. Then you got Jackson Jones. Really good. I've had him on my channel multiple times. I'm going to try to get these guys on my channel to talk about, their experience, their visits, and what they're excited about as a Duck here in the future. But Jackson Jones, athletic defensive end, 4-star defensive end, 36th best defensive end of the 2024 class, 9th best player in Arizona. We're getting two defensive ends, 2 of the better players from the state of Arizona here is coming out of Yuma Catholic High School. So excellent gets up front. Let's go to the linebacker position real quick. I'm trying to go quick because I only got 5 minutes to do this. Linebacker Dylan Williams out of Long Beach, California. Fun fact, he went to the same high school as Snoop Dogg. 14th best linebacker in the class, 17th best in the state of California nationally. And he's paired up with Kamar Mathudi out of Los Alamitos High School out there in Los Angeles, California. 19th best linebacker in his class, 22nd best in the California. So we're getting the 14th best linebacker in the country paired up with the 19th best linebacker in the country here. Both from California. They call these kids the Bang Bros. It's actually funny because they've been through a lot of camps together. They know each other. They're great friends. So to have these guys as a linebacker corp for the future is definitely great. And it's not done there. They're actually not the best linebacker that they signed this class. Braden Platt is the best linebacker that Oregon signed this class. He's the 12th best linebacker in 2024. Best player, guys, in Washington. Best player. And we all seen what the Huskies did this year. They have the 38th best recruiting class after signing day, by the way. That's sad. But we get, again, this has been a trend for the last few years. We get, again, from the state of Washington, their best commit in Braden Platt. He's from Yelm High School, Yelm, Washington, standing 6'1.5", 240 pounds, big boy, big linebacker. Dylan Williams, to compare, is 210 pounds. Kamar Mathuti, 225 pounds. So 3 4-star linebackers as your trio of linebackers coming in here. Absolutely excellent. Absolutely excellent. At the offensive tackle position, we got to go to the offensive tackle. Let's do this real quick. Jaquan McRoy was a big one. This is one that Colorado thought they were going to flip, but they didn't. I put out a nice meme out there. If you guys haven't seen it, it's hilarious. 6'8", 340 pounds, guys. This is a big boy. 15th best offensive tackle at his position, 190th best in the country, best player out of Clayville High School in Pinson, Alabama. Going to the SEC where those big boys are and getting one of the big boys, 6'8", 340 offensive tackle. And he can move, let me tell you. That is a huge get for Dan Lanning, getting Jaquan McRoy and retaining him, keeping him away from Colorado. Fox Crater is another big time offensive tackle that can move on his feet. He's also a basketball player. He's been a basketball player all his life. And usually basketball players have great balance, have great footwork. 6'6", 290 pounds, could get a little bigger, can get his little frame a little bigger. He's right there out in Evergreen High School, right there across the river in Vancouver, Washington. 19th best offensive tackle in the class. So you're getting 2 of the top 20 offensive tackles in the class with Fox Crater and Jaquan McRoy. Trent Ferguson is an in-state kid, definitely going to be a developmental prospect, but this is a big kid, 6'7", 300 pounds. 51st best offensive tackle in the and this is a developmental kid. You don't need him to be a star. You got Jaquan McCoy and Fox Crater, who we can develop behind and possibly one day be a star, right? 6'7", 300 pounds. You don't want to just give that up. And he could possibly move to offensive guard if he needs to be, right? We've seen Dan Lanning do this, shuffle guys around to the best where they can get the most play time, right? So there it is, guys. I think that done it. I think we hit every position group. There's your 2024 class, man. Dan Lanning retains everybody. He adds 2 guys by flipping them from Ohio State and USC, 2 elite wide receivers. And then he adds Kobe Savage through the transfer portal, and I don't think we're done yet. Don't forget about 4-star defensive lineman Jericho Johnson tonight at 7 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern time. I have a good feeling he will be committing. And in February, Gatlin Bear between Michigan and Oregon. That will be another one to watch. I think those 2 we have the best chances with. Jordan Seaton, nation's number 1 offensive tackle, committed to Colorado right now. Did not sign his NLI to Colorado. Oregon has been reported to be in contact with him. Keep an eye on Jordan Seaton. I don't know how good our chances are with that one. And also Walter Nolan. I do not think the Ducks will be he will be signing with the Ducks. I don't think we're going to be getting him, but it is one to watch as he has not committed anywhere yet. Okay, guys, that does it. I think this is going to be my last episode until after Christmas, okay? I want to spend the last few days with family. I want to relax and kick it and spend some Christmas time. And I think you guys all should too. Watch some bowl games as the bowl season is going to be kicking off right after Christmas. Okay. On Wednesday, I'm going to be having a special guest on here to preview the Fiesta Bowl. Yes, guys. Don't forget, we have a bowl game. the Fiesta Bowl, Liberty, Oregon. We're going to learn all about Liberty. They're 13-0. We don't know a damn thing about them. I don't. So we're going to learn about them. I'm going to bring a special guest on here. So the 27th on Wednesday, I'll be on here next. I'm going to take a little break off of the podcast. I will be keeping updates, so make sure you follow us on DuckZone503 on all social medias to stay updated. As always, guys, I'll see you on Wednesday, December 27th for the next podcast with a special guest to preview Liberty and Oregon. Go Ducks.